Gracie Jiu-Jitsu rocks. Welcome to the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast, a podcast dedicated to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and all things Gracie, including self-defense, competition, anti-bullying, women's self-defense and empowerment, nutrition, and most especially, the people involved in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. This podcast is for the average Joe. It's for anyone who practices, trains, teaches, or just loves to talk about or hear about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We'll explore the lives of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, how they got involved in the art, and what effect it's had on their lives. So buckle up and enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 132 of the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Rocks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marty Josie, and thanks for listening. Today is going to be a fun and exciting episode because we're doing round 2 of the Meet the Listeners episode. About 3 years ago, I had Jarod Gracie on the show, and we surprised callers. The callers thought they were going to be doing one of the short Meet the Listener segments for a regular episode, where we normally have one long interview with a featured guest. But before that, we have a short interview with someone who's a listener. So if you're a listener to the show, I'm sure you're familiar with that. And 3 years ago, Jarod came on and we surprised several guests who thought they would just be speaking with me. So it was a lot of fun. So we decided to do round 2. And going into this, I realized some people who had heard the first one may not be quite as surprised, or they might have had, a little bit of a suspicion. So I tried to throw them off the chase, so to speak, as much as possible, because I really wanted them to be surprised. So I think most were, and the conversations were really great. It was really great connecting with people from all over. So really glad that we did this again. I know you're going to enjoy this. Before we get into the interviews, let's do our quick martial arts quote. And for that, we're going to return to an old faithful quote, if you will, from Grandmaster Elio Gracie. Always assume that your opponent is going to be bigger, stronger, and faster than you, so that you rely on technique, timing, and leverage, rather than brute strength. Again, Grandmaster Elio Gracie. And who better to have a quote from for today's episode? Okay, the listeners that I'll be interviewing are Jarod Zieffling, Greg Nelson, James Guynn, Danial Raza, Joe Ambrosia, Loren Files, and Jean Soares. After the interviews, make sure you stick around for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. And all right, without further ado, let's meet the listeners. All right, up first is Jarod Zieffling. All right, I'm speaking with Jarod Zieffling. Jarod, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Marty.
Jarod, let's start just by having you tell us where you're from and where you train.
Okay, well, I'm from a small city called Appleton, Wisconsin, about 20 miles south of Green Bay, and I train at Metrics Martial Arts.
Okay, wonderful. Hey, Jarod, there's someone here who wants to say hello to you.
Okay.
Jarod, what's up? It's Jarod Gracie. How are you?
Good, Jarod. Nice to meet you again. I was actually at a seminar in Appleton about 6 months ago that you hosted. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, more than 6 months ago.
Was it?
Yeah, it was more than 6 months ago. It was like a year ago.
Yeah.
It was like last summer. But either way, you were at the seminar at Appleton. That's great.
Yep.
Great. And how has jiu-jitsu been for you? How's it? Obviously, it's been tough times, but how has the jiu-jitsu since the seminar been? How's the mindset?
We actually just reopened last week, so yeah, it was kind of rough for a couple weeks there, or a couple months actually. But we're getting back in the swing of things, and everyone's kind of just greasing the gears and getting back into motion. So it's good. Everyone's happy to be back and back with our friends and training partners. So yeah, it's great to be back. I don't know what I'd do without it.
I love it. And what belt are you?
I am a 4-stripe blue belt.
Great. And what was your first introduction to jiu-jitsu?
Honestly, I believe my first introduction to jiu-jitsu wasn't like everyone else. You know, most people saw the UFCs and the early UFCs with Hoist, but I actually had a Dilated Peoples CD. And
wow.
Yeah, so I was reading the liner notes on the inside, and there was Raka sitting with, I believe, you and Henner, you know, sitting on the mats, and then I kind of just started doing research from there. And then, you know, the popularity grew, and of course, listening to Joe Rogan's podcast and stuff. So I actually didn't even start until a few days after my 37th birthday. So I'm coming up on 6 years, going strong.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's so unbelievable. Yeah, we should call Raka on a 4-way phone call. What a small world. Yep. Yeah, these guys. Marty, do you know about these guys, Raka, and do you know Evidence?
No, tell me about it.
Yeah, it's a group out of LA, and the group is Dilated Peoples, a hip hop group. And I have a friend of mine who's a student from like 25 years ago, and he worked at a hotel. He worked in the hotel sales industry, and he was a DJ, longtime DJ. And he was friends with this guy Raka, and Raka is a rapper, and he brought him in to train jiu-jitsu when I was probably 18 years old. So for many years, we were part of, we would hang out with these guys, with Raka and Evidence, who is his counterpart, and then their DJ is Babu. And these three guys, we would go to many shows, Henner and I, and hang out with them, and they became jiu-jitsu students. And from jiu-jitsu students, they would push us forward. And now Jarod heard about us through Raka.
that is really cool.
Oh, so we got to send out.
From the past, huh?
I'm going to give Marty some videos and some songs so he can kind of share them connect them on this podcast.
Definitely.
So people can see where this connection happened from. That's so great. Wow. Yeah. And Jarod, do you, what is your, in terms of jiu-jitsu now, how does your life work in terms of day-to-day and practicing jiu-jitsu? Do you have a family? What's your...
Yeah, well, I do not have any children, but I do have a girlfriend. And, yeah, I mean, jiu-jitsu is really... I like to tell people it's basically like my religion. Everything I do is through the scope or the lens, I guess, of jiu-jitsu. So I pretty much think about it nonstop all day. You know, it's crazy. I'm 42, almost 43 years old, and I just cannot imagine where my life would be right now if I wasn't training jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
It is truly like my passion and my obsession. So
does your girlfriend have a passion and an obsession?
Yeah, but she likes kickboxing. She's into cardio kickboxing. She's not too much into the the grappling. We do have mats in the basement and stuff, and she'll partake a little bit, but her daughter actually does train at the gym that I train at in the kids program.
I'm just making sure that she has a passion, because if your passion is jiu-jitsu and your girlfriend has no passion, there's a conflict there. But if you have a passion, she has a passion, then you both go do your passions, and then you come back together. When you've had enough of your passions, it will work. So if she doesn't have a passion yet, if kickboxing is not strong enough, get her another one. But then only you would know that.
Right.
And
right.
That's only if you're thinking long-term, big picture with this girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
For my advice of having thousands and thousands of students. You thought I was going to say girlfriends, huh? But
that's what I thought you were going to say.
So that's beautiful. So I'm glad that you have it as your... And now, it's funny, I feel like because you can't imagine life without jiu-jitsu, it feels like there's a beauty in doing life without jiu-jitsu. And obviously COVID created that circumstance for us. But the question is, can you not do jiu-jitsu for the next 4 months, Jarod?
I can not do I can not do jiu-jitsu for the next 4 months. Of course, I would prefer to do it as often as possible.
Perfect.
But with my mindset and the way that my brain, I guess, has kind of been rewired through learning jiu-jitsu and all the problem solving, yes, I can definitely navigate through those hard times as much as
yes,
the art. But yes, definitely.
I love it.
Hey, Jarod, not to cut you off, but we got to kind of keep it on a time constraint. Anybody you want to say a shout out to before we close?
Well, I'm actually on the road right now heading to go train with my professor in Iowa this weekend. So I'd like to shout out to my professor, Scott Thompson, who is a black belt under Fabio Santos. And yeah, that's it. So
I love it. I remember when I was 9 years old, Fabio teaching me classes. 11 years old.
Wow.
Learning from Fabio Santos. Crazy. Amazing times. So listen, I'm glad you're going to your jiu-jitsu, and the big thing is that you don't have to train jiu-jitsu every day to do jiu-jitsu for the rest of your life. You might stop for 7 months. You might break a knee, get in a car accident, but jiu-jitsu is forever a part of you, and that's what I'm feeling from you, right, in terms of how much it's affected your life. So I'm happy for you, Jarod.
Oh, thank you.
And
Great.
Enjoy.
Yeah, great to connect, Jarod. Thanks for being a listener, my friend.
No problem, Marty. Take care and keep putting out the great content.
All right, will do. Thank you, sir. Okay, next we have Greg Nelson. All right, I'm speaking with Greg Nelson. So, Greg, thanks for taking time to be on the show today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So, Greg, let's start off by just having you tell us where you're from and where you train.
Yeah, so I'm from the Staples, Minnesota area, so upper Midwest. I've been out in North Dakota for a few years now. Most of my training is, I've had a Gracie garage out here for a few years, and so most of the training's been there. I did do some out in Billings at SK Martial Arts, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Billings. They got a great school out there, great culture, great people, and yeah, they just built a new, or didn't build it, but just moved to a new facility out there. It looks really nice, so I'm looking forward to getting back out there. But
Nice. Well, hey, Greg, I got someone who wants to say hello to you.
Oh,
What's up, Greg? It's Hedon.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Bro, he said we're calling Greg Nelson. I said, Greg? It's Greg?
Yeah.
From the GST course 4 years ago or whenever that was?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, man, good to see you, or good to talk to you.
Wow, so have you been enjoying this podcast or what?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
That's so great.
yeah, we're kind of in the process of moving right now, so lots of 5-hour drives. So podcasts are great.
That makes perfect sense, and this is the podcast for Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So, a lot of amazing guests. That's so great. So yeah, Greg, for those that don't know, I met him at a GST in North Carolina. What year was that, Greg?
Well, I want to say 2017, May 2017, I think.
2017. Yeah, that sounds good. And so North Carolina is an amazing place. He's at the GST.
Where was that in North Carolina?
I was at a high school, and it was hosted by the troopers, right? The state troopers.
Was Sonny the one that arranged that one? Do you know?
Sonny was involved in the hosting of it. Yes, he was not.
I was out that. I think I was probably at that one then.
Yeah, it was at a high school. I remember it being very hot, I believe.
Yeah, over in Raleigh,
in the
right?
room. Yes, it was downtown. It was not. It wasn't at the college. It was at a different facility, but it was the first time I went there, I believe. But either way, I tend to tell students that are part of a GST, hey, feel free to contact me. I pass out my number or an email, and I connected with Greg, and he has continued. Greg, how much jiu-jitsu were you doing before the GST?
Very little, just the occasional solo YouTube drill.
There you go. So, okay, so I would imagine that served as a spark for you to get more involved in jiu-jitsu.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's so great. I'm so glad to hear that. And not only was that a spark, but as he continued in jiu-jitsu, Greg has made a point, to kind of keep me updated as how things are going for him, right? As to people that he's training. I think it was your brother-in-law, correct? Or your brother?
Yeah, my brother, Gary, yep.
Your brother came and trained with you, and how you had, of course, your wife training with you, and just how the journey's been. And the whole time, which is very also amazing, Greg, is your expressions of gratitude to me and to Gracie University and to Jiu-Jitsu and to just Jiu-Jitsu as a whole. I've noticed those, and by far one of the most expressively grateful people that I have experienced in the last couple years in terms of just new jiu-jitsu journey, in terms of your expression. So thank you for being, so expressive. And more importantly, is thank you for continuing and doing this, even though you're in a garage and you have, you don't have 20, 30 training partners, but you're making it happen, which is beautiful.
Right, that's great. No, I appreciate your help along the way and your willingness to provide advice. And I think that's a huge part of what hooked me right away was, I noticed that about you right away, just your willingness to help out. And yeah, it's been great. I really appreciate all that.
Of course. And the willingness to help out. And I'm sure because, Greg being in law enforcement and even Marty with the podcast, there's a certain, the willingness to help out. As much as helping people is for them, but it's so much for us. And that's the beauty of this lifestyle that we live, that's around jiu-jitsu and, improvement and self-defense. As I'm giving information that is helping sharpen your understanding of this art, I'm also kind of fine-tuning my own. And we have students like yourself that are very, grateful. And that's just, that's a bonus, right? That someone can be so appreciative of your hard work. So that's so cool. And have you guys ever met before, Marty and Greg? No,
we haven't. Unless we were at the same GST, but
isn't that so cool? You guys could have been at the same GST, 10 feet from each other, or at a seminar, because Greg has been to some seminars of mine. You could have been at a seminar right across the room, but you had no idea. Mm-hmm. Isn't life is so great? It brings everybody onto the same mat, and you don't know who you're touching and who they're right there, and then they were not right there anymore.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, for sure.
I love it.
I do too.
Well, very nice. Well, Greg, any final questions? How you feeling? Everything good?
No, yeah, been good. Just looking forward to getting in the new place and getting the mat set back down. I just pulled them up last night. It was kind of depressing, but but we'll be set back up as soon as we finish the move. And yeah, looking forward to it. And hopefully, when the virus and everything slows down, we can do another immersion camp like you had in Orlando. That was awesome. Definitely want to get those again.
Hey, Greg, anybody you want to shout out to before we bring it to a close, buddy?
Oh man, just everybody in jiu-jitsu. It's amazing. It's a great group of people to be around, and it's the value off the mat is just as probably even more valuable than what you learn on the mat for me and how you can apply it to life. So shout out to everybody.
Right on.
I love it. Well, good speaking to you, Greg.
You too. Thanks so much.
Yes, take care, Greg. Be well.
Bye.
Okay, next up is James Guynn. All right, so I'm speaking with James Guynn. So James, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So start us off by just letting us know where you're from and where you train.
Well, I'm originally from Glasgow, Scotland, or Clydebank, just outside of Glasgow. I'm currently in Columbus, Ohio, and training at the Bushido Martial Arts Ryron Gracie Academy down on South High Street.
Nice. Hey, James, there's somebody that wants to say hello to you right now, buddy.
James.
Oh, who's that?
James, this is Ryron Gracie. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. How are you?
Great. I'm here with Marty, just talking to guests, and that's so cool. I get to meet you, and because you just said you're from Glasgow, Scotland.
Yeah.
I've been there, and it was a great time. I have a friend of mine, Ian, there. But what I don't understand is that I can understand you.
Yeah, well, I've been here since I was 6. And in 8th grade, it was not cool to have a brogue. So I had to work furiously to try and lose the accent.
Man, you really figured it out. You could teach people this because The accent in Glasgow, Scotland is another level. And
It
I
is.
I don't even mind. It doesn't even make me angry. I'm just fascinated at how it's actually English words.
I
Right?
know. And I have relatives. Sometimes I don't understand what they're saying.
Yes. So that's amazing. I was just in Scotland, in Edinburgh, Scotland, last year, and I had a great time. Again, I had went back for my second time to Scotland, so that's great. But now you're in Ohio, and what's your jiu-jitsu path look like right now?
Well, right now, right now I'm submitting my videos for the ICP on Wednesday. I'm opening my own school. I don't know what the vernacular. I don't know exactly what to call it right now. But next Wednesday, I've got a warehouse with some offices, and the path is that I'm hoping that in January we'll get to meet in person, and I'll open my own CTC here in Reynoldsburg.
Wow.
Did you not know?
Awesome.
Well, I knew that you were considering opening a school, but now I'm glad that you're opening a CTC. And
Yeah, for sure.
and you're a blue belt?
I am 2-stripe blue belt under Tracy Hopkins, which again under Helson.
That's great. And being a blue belt and teaching jiu-jitsu is a little frowned upon, but I support you 1,000%, as you know that. And the reason why is because of the unity.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm very happy for you being a blue belt and stepping out into this world of teaching jiu-jitsu. Many people will say, yeah, you can't teach, but the crazy part is way too many of the instructors right now, the most known people that have learned from Helson or my father or Pedro Sauer, many of them began this journey 15, 20, 30 years ago when they were blue belts and they were teaching as blue belts. Mm-hmm. So the fact that there's thousands of black belts today doesn't mean a blue belt can't do what blue belts have been doing forever. And even more so right now, you're going to be so connected. So how do you feel about this journey that you have ahead of yourself?
Very excited. I'm 51 and, listening to Henner's webinar a few months back, I made it very clear to everybody that I train with, that was ultimately my goal was, to be able to continue training, to build community, to help others, feel safe and stay healthy. And so that's always been the goal. That's all, and when Henner came out and said, hey, we have a path for that. Oh, I mean, I was the target audience for sure.
Oh, that's so great.
I jumped right on. I was like, hey, okay, how do I start this? Because at 51, my main fear had been, I didn't want to get to be too old to not enjoy it, to be able to participate fully. And, as of right now, I'm in good shape. I'm in good health. I've got a good energy level, and pretty focused. So, no, this is kind of a dream come true and maybe a little faster than what I was expecting. But, in response to, any naysayers or, maybe blue belts shouldn't be teaching, et cetera, I feel like the support system that has been put in place through this system is just first rate. I mean, top notch. So I don't feel like I'm going in unequipped.
Yes.
There's good examples, there's great resources. So no, I feel like if someone was sending me in to do battle, you guys are certainly providing all of the necessary tools and equipment. So,
yes. And
very stoked about that.
I'm so happy to hear this. And you are continuing, because oftentimes I teach jiu-jitsu and people say, wow, Hidon, this is amazing. How did you think of this? Or Hidon, you're so good. And I always remind people that it's not even me. This is not my mindset. This was taught to me. This was taught to me by my father. right? My father used to always do this, and he taught me this, and he explained this, or my grandfather taught me this. So it's almost like everyone's just passing along information, and we will pass along information to you, and you will pass along that information to the people in your community. And if everybody is honest with their sharing of the information, and everybody's on it, and when you share something, obviously you can share something a little bit different, and you can learn that and say, hey, you know what? I showed it like this. Try like this, you guys. The point is that you can reach a group of people who don't have access to jiu-jitsu, and they appreciate your energy, you as a person. They trust you, and they want to hang out with you, and they trust that you have their best interest at hand. And if that's the case, you're going to be unstoppable.
Absolutely.
Right.
Hey, Jay, take it from me. You're gonna absolutely love the ICP. Just a life-changing experience, and like you said, it's the best support out there. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we bring it to a close, buddy?
Let's see. Definitely Tracy Hopkins. Thank you very much for putting in place, your academy. For him, it's a labor of love. And for me, at, difficult times, it's been a salvation. It's been a place to go where, comradeship, skill training, community. Again, Robert Hypes, who's also been, I would say, equally effective in giving, freely of his time, very generous with his knowledge. And my morning crew, got to give him my morning crew, Doug, Oscar, Brian, who Brian got me through this whole COVID-19 thing by training with me just one-on-one out of his garage for a couple of months. Nice. Love those guys. So that's it, man.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Well, thanks for being available, man. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for being a listener.
Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
We'll see you in January, James. Thank you.
Absolutely, buddy. For sure. Cheers. Take care.
Cheers. Okay, next is Danial Raza. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Marty, thank you for having me.
My pleasure, buddy. Hey, let's get started by you just saying where you're from and where you train.
Sure. So I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and I'm currently training at a Gracie Garage in Mississauga, which is just a suburb just outside the city, as well as a local academy, Inner City MMA.
Nice. Hey, there's someone who wants to say hello to you, man.
Daniel, hello. This is Jarod Gracie.
Jarod, how are you?
Great. I am here meeting people with Marty, and he's got amazing guests. And I love that you train at the Gracie Garage and at a local school. And how's it been for you?
It's been fantastic. Jarod, it's crazy speaking to you. I was just telling Marty before we got on that I was a little, weird hearing his voice, having, listened to the podcast for so long. But Jarod, I've been, I started through Gracie University. So I've been listening. I've probably watched every video you've put out and, every lesson you've put on. So it's really great to speak to you finally.
I'm so glad. I'm glad you started on Gracie University. It's success for us, one person at a time.
Absolutely, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted to come on today, maybe a little bit of a different perspective, give that, my story based on how I started through Gracie University and kind of the lens and perspective that gave me as I, learned jiu-jitsu, and even as I transitioned to joining local schools and how that helped me and that mindset. I can't thank, you and Henner enough for the content that you've put out. Gracie University has just been completely life-changing for me.
That's so great. And so how is it right now like you said, you train at a local school and in a garage? What are the feelings that you've experienced with training at a local school?
Well, the local school, having started with Gracie University, my wife and I started alone. We did lesson number 1, trap and roll, on our mattress, and then, quickly fell in love and went on to gracieuniversity.com and looked for a garage in our area, and we found a really great one, and we started training there. And after about a year of training in the garage, just logistics, life happens, and we needed to find a school that was a little bit closer to us. And the education that I got from, the training from Gracie University really set a standard for me as to what I wanted in a school. And I went to multiple schools around my city, looking for one, do they do self-defense, how clean the school is. And these are all things that I would have never imagined to assess had I not had that previous exposure. And I was lucky enough to find a school near me that on my first day there, they were doing striking defenses from, the bottom, and there was philosophy very similar to what I was used to. So when I finally found that, I latched on very quickly.
Well, that's very cool. And you are right. Until you've seen something, you have no idea what's possible. So we demonstrated, like you said, the self-defense, the respect, the mindset, the cleanliness, even the cleanliness. You're watching us virtually, but you can tell that it's clean. And those are the things that you value, and you found those in the school. I'm glad you found them. And this raises the bar. People hear this. They hear you explaining this. And people all around are training at schools that might lack the discussion of self-defense. And they don't teach the mental jiu-jitsu, the mindsets that exist. It's very much about just roll, learn an arm lock, and roll some more. So it's interesting because pretty soon it's going to raise the bar. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, who knows when, there's going to be a day where if you show up and the mat is not clean and there's no discussion of self-defense, that most people will just look at that and say, why would I want to train here? So,
absolutely. I think you've nailed it right on the head in terms of, what that education that you're offering is more than just techniques.
Yeah.
And
you're right. And Marty, have you Marty, in terms of like him being a Gracie University student, and you've been around a lot of people like this and different people from the podcast, I'm almost curious now to do like some kind of a poll, and how many people started on Gracie University and are listening to this podcast. That would be like cool to know, like what numbers started their jiu-jitsu journey, not even on Gracie University, just online, maybe Gracie University a little bit, because this is a success story. Daniel's in Toronto. Him and his wife started on their bed doing a trap and roll, and now he is, training at a school. When did you start training? How long ago?
So I started at the end. I did my first trap and roll lesson December 2016.
Okay. So you're good.
Yeah, so I've been, I'm still a white belt. We've been doing combatives for about 3 years. And, it's been, really just chasing knowledge and not the belt. But now I think there is a little bit of some motivation to submit my blue belt test. And, even though that I have been training master cycle, kind of jumping ahead without the testing, I think that I've kind of learned that there are perhaps some opportunities and some credibility that can be gained by, actually testing, and also just proving it to myself as well. But we've been doing the combatives and the women empowerment program for some time.
That's great. I'm happy for you guys, and I look forward to meeting you one day in person.
Absolutely. We can't wait for you to come to Toronto and do a seminar here. I've been messaging you on Instagram about it, so hopefully one day, when this the dust settles, you can make a trip down here.
Have we spoken on Instagram already?
Yeah, a couple times.
Perfect. I'll look you up again.
Awesome.
Message me again. Thank you, Daniel.
I will.
Hey, Daniel, do you have anybody you want to say a quick shout out to before we bring it to a close, brother?
Absolutely. My first shout out is got to be to my wife, Tamina. Without her support, she's been my primary, partner since day one, turning our lives around. We don't have a dining room table anymore because we have mat space. Without those sacrifices, my training wouldn't be possible. And, we've really turned into a lifestyle. So she's definitely my number one supporter. I wouldn't be able to do anything without her. Number two, my brother, coincidentally started jiu-jitsu when I was first getting interested, and he is the one who sent me the link to Gracie University. And I had that link in probably my email account for 6 months before I looked at it, just because I couldn't imagine, what learning online would be like. And I think that's, if there's one thing that I want people listening to me, a white belt, what they could gain from me is the advantage you can get from an online education, because really what it is, it's a private class with Huron and Henner Gracie. And I think that, even as I try to recruit for my garage, it is challenging to convince people that an online curriculum is better than what they're already doing. And I often have success with newcomers than people who have already started to train. So if I can just put that out there and share that experience, that'll be worth it. And my last shout out, Marty, would be to my brother from another mother, Lazo DeCibio. He's our Gracie Garage leader. He has been instrumental in, facilitating a place for the community to train, renting out a facility out of pocket, and still, the Gracie Garage is free to all the members so that we had a place to train. And then, he actually gave me a set of mats for my homes that my wife and I could train ourselves. And, it's just been completely invaluable to have, to meet these kind of people, through jiu-jitsu. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you sharing, man, and letting us get to know you, and be well, brother.
Thank you so much, Marty. The show is fantastic. I can't say enough how much it's, helped in terms of, the mindset behind training. And Huron, just I can't thank you enough for the content that's out there. I learned to tie my belts from you guys, so it's I'm sure you hear it all the time, but your reach is really something that words can't even express.
Daniel, thank you, brother. Keep up the good work. I'll see you on the mat soon enough.
Absolutely. Take care, guys. Thank you so much.
All right, next is Joel Ambrosia. All right, next up, I'm speaking with Joel Ambrosia, so welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks very much, Marty. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So get us started, man, just by letting us know where you're from and where you train, Joel.
Sure. Currently, I live in Easton, Pennsylvania. I train at Terry Brothers Jiu-Jitsu, which is a short hop from here in Lynn Gap, Pennsylvania. They are also the Northeast affiliate for Ocracoke Judo.
Nice. Hey, buddy, I've got someone who wants to say hello to you.
Hello, Joel. This is Jarod Gracie.
Hello, sir. How are you? I enjoyed Gracie University so much.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear. Thank you for saying that, and I'm glad that you're enjoying it. Are you, in terms of jiu-jitsu, you're a purple belt right now?
Yes, sir. I'm purple belt.
That's great. And how has jiu-jitsu been for you? How's the training going?
Oh, I love it. I love it. I teach my kids also, and really enjoy it. Even though I'm 50 years old, and I had some hip problems as well. My instructors have found a way to kind of work around my physical limitations, and I really can't get enough of it. Currently we are not training as much just due to the pandemic, but other than that, I can't wait to get on the mat, and my instructors are so good, and they love Gracie Jiu-Jitsu as well.
I love it. And as for you teaching your kids, how has that been? Obviously, it's tough for some people to teach their children or to teach anybody in your family, but have you been fun and been successful?
Yes, it has been successful. The kids love it. Initially, I took them through the Gracie Combatives, of course, and when they were younger, also just wrist escapes, and my daughter also enjoys the Women Empowered, even though she's a young girl, but she enjoys that also. My kids are fairly attentive. They understand. They have both had to use jiu-jitsu already, so they understand what the techniques are, and that they do work, and that if they pay attention and they just follow the lead, that they'll be able to handle themselves in any situation. And I got to tell you, sir, just the confidence that they exude. My kids are not afraid of anything. They're just not. We'll get into any situation. My son Max, who's 11, when he was 9, he stopped another kid from assaulting a younger girl also, and just using basic combative techniques, and he was really enthralled by that.
Nice.
Wow, that's great. So you're giving them these tools, these life skills that they can take with them, wherever they go. And on top of that, you're building time and connection with them. You get to spend time and play with them, which is, I don't know which one is more valuable, right?
Yeah,
the play time that you have together, the quality time, or the lessons you're giving them for when they're, off on their own.
Yeah, I feel it makes me a better father as well, because I start to get more in tune with when they are starting to tune me out. That they're tired, or their knees are sore, or they don't want to train that day. Maybe I cut it short that day. It has made me kind of more in tune with where their head's at and what their patience level is, and what each kid's learning curve is also, and what they enjoy doing and what they don't, and what they push back on, what's too complicated for them. It really has helped me bond with them a little bit better, and they also, whenever because I am a purple belt and they have seen me use it, it's also more confidence for them, because whenever someone is kind of even verbally just kind of yelling at us or something when we're in the city, the kids also have the confidence to look at me and then just say, like, we're not worried about Daddy. There's only one person here. They have perfect confidence in everything, and they're much more confident with other children too, with everything they do. Even in school, they don't panic. Sometimes I can see my son, he kind of starts to get a little bit riled up, and then I could just see in his face it's just started to bring it down, almost like he's under, has somebody in guard. It just brings the whole thing down, calms down, tries to figure out a solution.
Yes, I remember being a kid in high school and having, not even high school, even beyond high school too, but a young adult, and having 3 or 4, occasions where people were verbally attacking me, and never really anything physically, maybe a light push by a drunk guy, but the energy was always one of, hey, my man, I'm so sorry, no problem here, I apologize. And it came from this confidence, which was shown because the alternative way of responding could have been, hey man, forget you, don't talk to me like that, it's unacceptable. And that's the very common thing, is young boys feel this need to defend themselves when verbally or physically attacked. But once you realize that verbal or physical attack towards you has nothing to do with you and more to do with that person's, life situation in that moment, it allows you to look at them and say, hey, it's okay. And I never felt this need to prove myself against another 17-year-old or 23-year-old. It's just a game. And that goes even till now. So walking away from fights is almost more difficult and requires more discipline and more training and more confidence. So your son is getting that right now. I can just imagine him being 23 years old and not feeling this need to show that he's a man, because he just knows he's a man.
Yes, 100%. He's currently, he's 11 years old. He's been doing jiu-jitsu since he was 6. And he doesn't feel the need to puff his chest out or mouth off to anybody. And, even adults, too, he's perfectly calm, even if an adult he doesn't know is yelling at him or something. It just, the whole jiu-jitsu mindset kind of has kind of encapsulated itself into his mind when things start to get stressful.
Yeah, he shouldn't have too many adults yelling at him, though, okay?
Oh, no. Believe me, it doesn't last more than a few seconds, believe me.
I was just saying, you need to move out of your neighborhood if there's that many adults yelling at him. Move to Torrance.
Yeah.
Hey, Joel, before we close, do you have anybody you'd like to say a quick shout-out to?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My wife, Grace, who has been super supportive the whole time, and my children, Max and Mia, they're my inspiration, really. And I have to say a shout out to my dog Hickson. You know, he loves jiu-jitsu also.
Nice.
And also, I have to give a shout out to Marty Josie and Jim. I don't know if I can say his last name.
Jim Pfeiffer.
Yeah, but Jim Pfeiffer, man, you guys, I have to say, steered me through my hip resurfacing. And I honestly, the advice that I was getting prior to calling you would have probably put me out of jiu-jitsu permanently. But having your connection to Jim and passing that on to me made all the difference in getting the resurfacing done instead, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, man. But on behalf of Jim and myself, man, it's our pleasure. Glad we could have a positive impact for you, brother.
And only just my instructors, too, John and Jim Terry and Master Gustavo Sanchez in judo. And, I mean, there's just so many people in the jiu-jitsu community I would like to shout out to. But, I mean, those three instructors have really guided me through a very bad time in terms of, physical health with my hip problems and things.
Sure. Well, listen, man, thanks so much for taking time to share some of your life with us. Thank you for being a listener, and be well, my friend.
All the best, Joel.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Loren Files. All right, I'm speaking with Loren Files. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Great to be here.
All right. So let's just start with you telling us where you're from and where you train, Loren.
Sure. I live in Mankato, Minnesota. It's about an hour southwest of Minneapolis-St. Paul area. And I train at Metro Karate and Jiu-Jitsu in Chanhassen, Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis-St. Paul. So it's about an hour drive for me.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Hey, man, there's someone who wants to say hello to you.
Oh, great.
Hey, what's up, Loren? This is Jarod Gracie.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great.
Awesome. I don't know if you probably don't remember me, but I actually met you in September at a seminar in Woodbury, Minnesota.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You just said an hour far from Minneapolis.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little starstruck. When I met you too, again, you're not going to remember me because there was 150 people there or whatever, but I was so excited and impressed that I had barely just started. I had like 6 classes under my belt, and you came up to me and said, "Hey, are you new at doing this? Let's get down on the mat. Let me roll with you and show you a couple of things." I was so blown away by that, by you. I mean, you're a rock star in the jiu-jitsu and martial arts community, that you would take the time to do that for me, a brand new student. Just amazing. Awesome.
That's so glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that you appreciated that. Yeah. And you know what's so interesting is that you just said that I would do it for you. Mm-hmm. And that's the cool thing about life, is that I don't want to do anything for anybody in the world except for me. So when I laid you down and I practiced the move with you, it's because I honestly enjoy helping people when it comes to jiu-jitsu. So you won and I won because you felt like, man, he has so much experience, he's helping me. And I felt, man, I have a lot of experience and he has so little, it's going to be fun to help him.
Right.
So it was a win-win, and I'm glad that you came to the seminar. That was at Dave Nissa's school, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and honestly, that was a turning point for me too, because I'd only been to like half a dozen classes, and I was kind of like, yeah, I like this, but I'm not sure if it's really for me. And that seminar was huge in a number of reasons. A bunch of my friends came down from North Dakota. That's where I'm originally from. Jesse Ward is the instructor up there, and they're the ones that kind of talked me into looking into a Gracie specific school. And they came down, and I was able to hang out with them and kind of get that community feel too. And that seminar was so big in creating that community for me. And then, like I said, you taking the time to roll with me, it seemed like 5 minutes for me, but it was probably 30 seconds or whatever. But it was such a huge, inspiration to me. Like, okay, yeah, this is what I need to do. This is going to be my hobby, my passion and stuff going forward. So that's, I can't tell you how big that was for me. I'm sorry, I'm rambling now. I'm just kind of blown away by the whole thing.
No, I love it. That's so cool. Do you know Greg Nelson?
I think I know the name, but I'm not sure if I know him or not.
Yeah, because he also he also drove from North Dakota.
Okay.
Is that where you said Jesse was, right? North Dakota, Minot.
Yeah.
I don't think he's in Minot.
Yeah,
but he
exactly.
drove.
Yeah. My best friend Ben, he's the one that talked me into going to a Gracie school. Like I said, it's an hour away from me, but he's the one that talked me into going to. And then his instructor Jesse and I have become friends too. And And yeah, there was like half a dozen or maybe even 8 people that drove down 500 miles to Minneapolis to go to the seminar. So it was just,
That's so amazing. People drive 500 miles for a seminar, and people, it's unbelievable, right? What we do for things that we like, that we love, that we appreciate.
right.
And in terms of right now, where you are with your jiu-jitsu, Loren, what are obviously you haven't been training that much in the last couple months.
Right.
I don't imagine, but what are your feelings now about, going forward with jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I still love it. My instructor Dave Toft at Metro Karate. I've been doing the combatives courses online. Watch what you and Henner do. And sometimes my wife helps me out, and sometimes we kind of get into it, and then she's like, "Okay, I can't do this," so I end up doing it by myself and kind of explaining what I'm doing. And then I take the video and I send it to Dave, and then he sends me a quick message back. He's like, "Hey, you did this really well. I see you know what you're doing on this. Practice this." So he gives me kind of the tips and stuff. So I've been doing it kind of all online / video correspondence with my instructor, and kind of what my goal is. So I'm 42. I started jiu-jitsu at 41, just over a year ago now. I'm not necessarily too old, but I'm probably not going to do tournaments. I'm not going to do MMA, stuff like that. What I would like to do, and I had this conversation with Dave right before the pandemic hit, so it's kind of all over the place. But my wife works at a treatment center for women for alcohol and drug addiction, and it's an inpatient facility, and it's unique in Minnesota that they allow them to bring their kids as well, so they don't have to try to find a place for their kids to go while they're getting sober, or leave them with a deadbeat dad and that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of my thought was, they're a small nonprofit, and the people are there from anywhere from 30 days up to a year, however long it takes them to get them through the program. But what I would like to do is possibly become an instructor or an assistant instructor under Dave, and then volunteer my time completely to them, to give them the women and the kids another tool in how they're dealing not only with their sobriety issues, but a lot of them they come from fairly bad backgrounds, and they find themselves in bad situations a lot. And if I can use this, which I've found to love, and give them something, again, some of them are only there for a month, so they're not going to get a lot of exposure to it, but even 1 or 2 lessons here and there, or the people that are there longer, kind of get their feet wet, so to speak, in jiu-jitsu. And then maybe when they leave, they'll find a school of their own or go online and do it. And just like I said, just give them another tool and help them out maybe in a situation later on down the road.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, that you would see value in giving them a little bit of exposure, especially with how you explain that even coming to one seminar.
Right.
Right. And that little time that we spent together, how that, gave you a push.
Right.
And every little push is helpful. So very cool. I wish you the best on that mission, and hopefully you can touch some lives and tap into that, because the truth is, what keeps us doing jiu-jitsu longer than anything is just that. It's the giving of jiu-jitsu. The
Mm-hmm.
giving of jiu-jitsu will keep jiu-jitsu in your life longer than the taking of jiu-jitsu. If you just seek it and just learn from a website, from a seminar, from a private class, a group class, and you just train, learn,
mm-hmm.
you can go for a certain amount of time. But when you start giving jiu-jitsu to others, you can go forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beautiful to hear.
True.
Yeah. And getting back to, the whole reason we're having this conversation, the podcast, I think what you do what you're able to do, Marty, on the podcast is not only create the community. I feel like every time I listen, I'm connected to whoever you're speaking with, whether it's in Florida or California or New York or whatever. But it also kind of inspires me to keep going and give back, because so many of your guests are so, like Hedon was, like I said, when he rolled with me, like he didn't have to do that. They're so giving and they're so humble. Like, yes, they might be at this level and I might be at a completely different level, but they're willing to give to me. And there's so much positivity and just that sense of community with the podcast. The whole thing is just fantastic.
Well, thanks for that feedback. I couldn't agree more. I think, one of the best things about this is, for me, since I started it like 6.5 years ago, was just being able to connect with so many different people at different parts of their journey. So thanks for that feedback. Anybody you want to say a quick shout out to, Loren, before we close?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, my best friend Ben Vandenberg, he's the one that got me into jiu-jitsu in the beginning. Kind of talked me into it, and told me to specifically look for a Gracie certified school. So that's kind of how I ended up there. And then his instructor Jesse Ward, who's been great along the way, kind of giving me pointers of what to look for and stuff like that. And of course, my instructor at my school, Dave Toft, as well as his assistant instructors Crystal and Devontae, all awesome. The minute I walked in there, I felt welcome. They're always, just great to work with and give me all the, everything that they have to make me successful. So it's been really good.
Send my best to Dave Toft and, like you said, the team over there, Crystal and Devontae. Wish them my best, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the mat soon.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. All right. Take care, brother.
Thanks.
All the best.
Thanks.
And last but not least is Jean Soares. So welcome to the show, Jean.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure, my friend. So get us started here, Jean, with just telling us where you're from and where you train, brother.
I'm originally from Brazil. I was about 20 some years old. I've been training for a couple months. I trained in a little school in Newark, Professor Sergio. Wonderful guy. He's from Uruguay. Second degree black belt. Pretty good. We have a small gym, a small school, but kind of closed up, like nice, like a family.
Sure. Well, hey, Jean, I've got somebody who wants to say hello to you, buddy.
Hello, Jean. This is Ryron Gracie. How are you?
Hey, Ryron. Hi. How are you, man? It's a pleasure to talk to you. Hey, Mario, you put me on the spot right here, right, man?
It's a problem.
Gene, you said you came from Brazil when you were 20 years old?
Yeah, it doesn't get any bigger than that. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
Talking to Ryron, yeah.
Man,
I came, I was 22 exactly. I turned 23 here a few months after. I came right before September 11th.
And how long? Oh, got it. So you've been here for some years now. So now you're 35?
I'm 41.
41. September 11th was a while ago. So either way, so you're speaking great English.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm still learning it.
Amazing. And how you've only been training for a few months?
Yeah, just a few months. I've been involved with jiu-jitsu. Like I know I have a lot of friends that does it, and but getting on the mat, actually practicing and training just a few months before the pandemic started. That's when I was training. I started in December, I think. Just a few months.
I love it. And when you were in Brazil, were you exposed to jiu-jitsu in Brazil?
No. I lived in Bahia.
Got it.
There was no jiu-jitsu. It was too far. I was only in Rio, São Paulo, where jiu-jitsu was more exposed to the people. We only heard about the Gracie and the jiu-jitsu and everything, but
that's it.
Was something far from us.
It's beautiful how someone can come from Brazil and not have trained jiu-jitsu, but then start in America. And I've heard this a few times from Brazilians, and you are right, because obviously jiu-jitsu in Brazil back in the day was in a very few select places.
Yeah, it was expensive as well, It was not, for me, it was more about soccer than jiu-jitsu.
That makes sense. If there's one exception to jiu-jitsu when you're in Brazil, it's soccer. Or maybe surf.
Exactly. That's right. Or capoeira, since I'm from Bahia, so we're more exposed to capoeira.
That's great. And and now that it's been a few months, how do you feel when training jiu-jitsu? How does it feel? Does it feel comfortable for you? Is it you enjoying it?
I feel upset for not starting earlier.
Got it.
I should have started earlier, but didn't happen like that. But I should have started a little earlier, at least 5 years earlier. I would love it if I had done that before.
Yes, and I'm sure there are a few 50-year-old, 60-year-olds that are going to listen to this podcast, and they're going to say they wish they started when they were 40 years old.
Yeah,
so
it
everybody
did wonderful things for me, man. And like one thing that I loved about it was I used to have a lot of migraines, a lot of migraines. Like there wouldn't be a week that wouldn't have migraines at least 1 or 2 days of the week. And for that period of time that I trained, I didn't have a single day with migraine.
Wow.
I can't explain how it happened, and but my wife was saying, "Well, you're not taking Excedrin anymore." I said, "No, since I started training and getting home at night, 10 o'clock at night after training, go to sleep and be up at 6:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and feeling good." And my wife, "Where do you find so much energy?" I say, "I don't know, but I get home, I lay down and I sleep. I kind of shut it down because my body's tired, but I'm feeling good." And it was the best thing. Those few months that I can. I'm a believer.
My brother says that jiu-jitsu is medicine.
Yeah, medicine for the body and for the soul.
I love it. I'm so happy to hear that about the migraines. And so right now, because of COVID, you haven't trained too much in the last.
Not much.
And how does it look going forward?
Say that again. Sorry.
When do you think you might start training again?
I just spoke to my professor a couple of days ago. Since New Jersey is in the process of reopening, maybe another 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks for us to have private lessons and stuff like that.
Yeah, and have you had migraines since COVID?
Yes, once or twice, yeah.
So not as much, but it has come back a little bit.
It came back a little bit, not as much.
Okay,
I don't know if there is anything connected to it, but like I said, for those days, I didn't have any.
No, I think it's 100% connected. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu and the absence of migraines, guaranteed connection. You just watch and see.
Maybe the sweat, right? Maybe the sweating, the toxins that you release,
the pleasure.
The state of mind.
What was your passion and your hobby? What did you do for fun before jiu-jitsu?
I do construction, so I do a lot of carpentry. My hobby initially was mostly at home, doing a little bit of carpentry in a garage, or most of the times watching TV, sitting around and watching TV.
Got it. So it was
I would go to the gym every once in a while. I was not active.
Perfect. So there you go. Yeah. So jiu-jitsu is the movement that your life needed to get rid of the headaches.
Exactly.
Bro, jiu-jitsu's movement. I love it.
The sweat.
Hey, Jean, anybody you want to say a quick shout-out to before we bring it to a close, brother?
I want to give a shout-out to my friend Robson Gracie.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good friend of mine. He lives in New York. Very good guy. He actually fights for Bellator. Nice. To my professor, Sergio Martinez, as well. All the listeners, I would like to say that podcast during this time is the only thing that helped me keep going. It's the only thing that we can get right now. It's listening about jiu-jitsu and the stories. Not much about jiu-jitsu, but the stories of people and the way jiu-jitsu has helped them and transformed their lives. It's amazing. It's a kind of a adrenaline shot that you take when you hear somebody, saying good things about it, and helps you get going and keep going.
Yeah, it helps to really helps to keep us motivated, doesn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. We all need some motivation from somewhere, right?
That's right.
And some people get in different things, and I think jiu-jitsu is a lot. Thank God for Helio and Carlos Gracie.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much, man, for letting us get to know you a little bit, and I hope you.
No problem.
Yep. So long, healthy life, brother.
Keep it up, and I listen to your podcast at least once a week. I listen to one of your podcasts. I'm trying to get caught up with all of them.
Nice. Well, I appreciate you being a listener, brother. All right.
Thank you, man.
Well, okay?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jean.
You too. Thank you. And you guys have a good weekend.
All right, Ryron, what do you think about the second round of these that we did?
I love it. I love that there are, people who have met me randomly, people who have never, well, not randomly, but met me at a seminar. And there are those that have met me only online, those who have never probably trained on Gracie University or met me in person, but still, have a great an appreciation for the Gracie family. So just a nice variety of people that I was able to speak to, which is very fun. It's appreciated. I appreciate you for kind of creating, right, this platform, which allows for people from all different types of connections to jiu-jitsu to listen on the same platform. And that's a testament to the amazing guests that you have on the show that obviously, they bring their students and so on and their friends. And it's only growing. So it's very fun. And it's a great morning.
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I enjoyed it the first time and certainly have enjoyed it this time. It's so great to connect with different people, like you said, just through jiu-jitsu, through that one passion we have to be able to connect with different people from all over. I like your idea of doing some kind of poll to see how many people started online and then transitioned to a school. I also noticed that a lot of the people we talk to are older, some of them in their 50s, and I can relate to that. And it's just a great thing hearing from people that are not only still going strong in their 50s, but some of them who didn't even start till their 40s or even 50s. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yes, and those that start in their 40s and 50s, like Jean just said in the end, they wish they would have started earlier. Sometimes people have that feeling, and I had that feeling about different things in life. But we have to remind ourselves that the more important thing is that we're actually doing it right now.
That's right.
And that goes for anything that you think about doing. Thinking about it and wishing about it is one thing, but then saying, you know what, and going and doing it is another. So anybody out there that has anything that they, are kind of, they're just waiting to pull the trigger on, don't wait. Just do it. And then if it works out, keep going. If it doesn't work out, you can keep going, or you can, readjust your approach.
That's right. Seize the day. We can all get caught up, and I've certainly been guilty of it. We can all get caught up in saying, I wish I would have done this or that earlier, but you're doing it now. So at least 10 years from now, you won't be saying the same thing about it. You're starting. So if you want to do it, whatever it is, right?
Yes.
Right on. All right. Any last thoughts just on this whole experience or just about jiu-jitsu, the state of jiu-jitsu now, or anything that's on your mind?
No, I guess on my mind is, is that what I just said, is really tap into what matters to you and what interests you, and then look at yourself and just ask yourself, is how I'm behaving day to day in alignment with what I believe matters to me, with those things that I say are important to me? And if that's the case, keep going. And I'm doing that myself in terms of, recalibration of the things that I want for myself and for my family, and start to slowly, live life in the direction of those things that you dream about.
Absolutely. Wise words and great perspective and insight. Man, it's always a pleasure to connect with you. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to be a part of this. I know the guests really enjoyed it. So and hopefully the listeners will as well. So thank you again, brother.
I appreciate you, Marty. Keep up the great work. Absolutely. Team Jiu-Jitsu, and I'll see you on the mat soon enough.
All right. Really enjoyed that experience. Always a pleasure to hang out with Ryron, and always a pleasure to meet the listeners of the show and fellow jiu-jitsu practitioners and enthusiasts. So thank you to everyone who participated. All right, I wanted to let you guys know about a book I've written and will be launching in a month or so. It's called See You on the Mat, and it's the story of Spencer, a guy who does jiu-jitsu and feels like he has it really tough, not just on the mat, but in life in general. Because of his struggles and challenges, he feels overwhelmed and discouraged. But through the guidance of his instructor and a series of encounters with fellow jiu-jitsu students, he finds hope, inspiration, and strength. The book is along the lines of the quote, "Be kind to everyone you meet. You never know what kind of battles they're fighting." Anyway, I wanted to give you a heads up about it. More to come as the launch gets closer. Okay, quick plug for the Breathing for BJJ program. If you're unfamiliar with this program, it's a 31-day program which takes your breathing to a peak level. Through a biomechanical approach and specific daily exercises, you'll increase your functional capacity to breathe by strengthening your actual breathing muscles. This translates to more stamina and better performance on the mat. You'll learn to regulate your breathing for Jiu-Jitsu, as well as learn to breathe and relax when in challenging and suffocating positions. You can learn more about this program at www.breathingforbjj. All right, up next is the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. All right, time now for the Make a Difference, Make an Impact segment. Today's feature is called You versus You.
People have this reoccurring nightmare that there's some force that's got a hold of them and it's holding them down and they can't break free. No matter what they do, they can't break free from that force. Well, I'm here to tell you that thing in your nightmare, that thing that's holding you back, that thing that's dragging you down, that thing is you.
There are two fundamental attitudes toward life and its sorrows. Those with the first attitude blame the world. Those with the second ask what they could do differently. It's much easier and much more gratifying to your basest desires to blame someone else for your misery.
You know what's so funny? We want people to make guarantees to us, but we're not willing to make guarantees to ourselves. And that's the problem with some of you. You always want to blame other people. You owe you an explanation. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why are you only giving 50%? What's wrong with you? You need to put yourself on punishment. You need to tell you no more TV, no more snacks, no more dessert. No, we working out now. You need to tell you that you owe you something. Every day I demand more from myself than anybody else could humanly expect. I'm not competing with somebody else, I'm competing with what I'm capable of. My number one competition is me. It's always you versus you. You gotta be the one to get up every morning, be disciplined, put in the consistent daily hard work, because that gains success. No coach, no trainer, no mentor, no boss can do it. You versus you. I value myself enough to give 120% or don't do it. There is no excuse for not living up to the fullest potential. No excuse. You walk out of this room, you owe yourself. I didn't get here making excuses. What changed? I changed. And I stopped being a victim. I stopped saying I've got to wait for good things to happen to me. And I said I'm going to grind. I'm going to fight. I'm going to work. I'm going to press toward. I'm going to learn. I'm going to do everything in my power every single day to become a victor and not a victim. Why? Because I owe it to myself. Can't nobody stop me but me.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the show. As always, I thank you for listening. Hope you're enjoying the show. If you feel like you're benefiting from the show and want to show your support, you can support us on our Patreon page and a link in the show notes. Please like and follow us on social media and help us spread the word by reposting our posts and telling others about the show. You can leave comments on the website at www.graciejujitsurocks.com. You can also go to iTunes and leave comments as well as rate the show, and we would appreciate a 5-star rating, which helps us with our standing in iTunes. You can also leave comments on our YouTube channel. If you have suggestions for the show, please don't hesitate to give those. We always like feedback and suggestions. Okay, that's going to do it. So until next time, this is Marty Josie, and I'll see you on the mat.